I'm going to present here the self-assessment report preparation for National Board of Accreditation. This is based on January 2013 version ENBA. The details whatever that I'm going to present here, they are available in NBA site www.nbaind.org. Today, I'm going to cover the second part, that is the introduction to outcome-based education, which is very much essential before we get into the other parts like SAR, self-assessment report preparations and all. The outcome-based education is to be understood in terms of what is important for students to be able to do. This is to be defined for each course, then organize curriculum accordingly, deliver, and assessment is to be performed to make sure learning happens or not. This is the clear understanding of outcome-based education. So, having understood this, the outcome-based curriculum is nothing but defining what the student should be able to do. Then, how to make the student achieve the outcome is nothing but outcome-based learning and teaching. Finally, the most important is how to measure what the student has achieved. So these are the three different levels at which we can see outcome-based education for outcome-based accreditation. The same thing is put in a different form here. At the institution level, we have vision and mission and engineering graduate attributes defined here. Then we have a program educational objectives for the program, and program outcome or student outcome, right, is for the program. Then we have a course learning outcome for each of the courses. The course learning outcome contributes to the program outcome. The program outcome contributes to the program educational objectives. Hence, okay, we achieve our objectives. While defining all these things, we need to collect the input from industry and professional organization inputs and feedback from different stakeholder in arriving at all these outcomes. Once it is defined, we need to deliver the course through course planning in terms of syllabus, look into teaching methodologies, learning activities and all. And the most important thing is assessment tools, which is a very important thing. So having defined all these things for a course, right, and conducting examination, the course assessment is a very important thing. And having assessed the course, the program assessment, and finally the institutional assessment. So the assessment evaluation is the most important thing, which is used to arrive at certain inference. We need to draw the inference from this and see that the improvements are being brought for the institutional perspective, the program perspective, the course perspective in terms of POs, COs or CLOs, whatever that is. So this is the outcome-based education framework. When to assess these things? Course outcomes, whatever that is being defined, is being assessed after conducting every examinations. And this, upon the course completion, we are ready that every course outcome to what extent we have achieved. Having measured the course outcome, which are directly mapped to the program outcomes, right? And it is upon the graduation. At the time of graduation, we should be in the position to tell each PO to what extent we have achieved. A program educational objectives, right? This is measured 5 years after the graduation, maybe around 4 to 5 years and all. This is an external thing. And internally, to what extent we have prepared our student to meet the program educational objectives. Since there is a mapping between program outcome and program educational objectives, this also we can do it internally during the 4 years of graduation. Now let's try to look into the understanding of program educational objectives. They are nothing but the broader statement that describes the career and professional accomplishment. This is the most important thing that the program is preparing the graduates to achieve. PEOs are the statements that describe the expected achievement of graduates. Here is an example, right? The the first one, program educational objectives, to provide students with a solid foundation in computer science and engineering fundamentals required to build technical competence so that they are acceptable globally to industries, primary institutions of higher studies and research. Similarly, okay, you have a statement, right, that speaks about the career and professional accomplishment of graduates. Now we'll look into the program outcomes. They are the narrower statements that describes what the students are expected to know and able to do upon graduation. They are the skills and the knowledge which the student have at the time of graduation, indicates what student can do from subject wise knowledge acquired during the program. Here are some standard A to K program outcomes defined by NBA. We need to customize our program, add, delete, and finally see that one. These things are mapped to graduate attributes. An example here is an ability to apply knowledge of mathematics, science, and engineering, and ability to design and conduct experiments, an ability to design system components or a process, an ability to function on multidisciplinary teams, an ability to identify, formulate, and solve engineering problems, an ability to communicate effectively. Like this, there are many things that you can look into. They form as a graduate attributes. Now let's look into the course outcomes. These are nothing but the narrower statement that describes what the students are expected to know and able to do at the end of each course. Here is an example, right? Look into that, right? Map and realize the O model in any O language. Analyze given any problem scenario and identify classes, objects, their properties and association. Analyze given any problem scenario and design using UML, use case diagram, activity diagram for all basic and alternative flow for each use case, class diagram with properties, sequence diagram and state diagram. Analyze given any problem scenario and design using other traditional design strategies. Assess the quality of all systems in terms of cohesion, coupling, sufficiency, completeness, and primitiveness. Use various architecture and design patterns in system development. Now see here, each of this course outcome, we have mapped that one to program outcome, and also we have written the strength of correlation here. Strength of a correlation here is nothing but I have a totally 11 or 12, whatever it is, right? Program outcome. Out of that, how many program outcome this particular course outcome addresses? To begin with that, this is what we are calling as a strength of correlation. Later, we can attach a different weightage, quantify the strength of correlation, and proceed in assessment of attainment of course outcome, program outcome, and thereby program educational objectives. We have to keep in mind the different levels of teaching learning process, where exactly they are focused at. This is a pyramid that shows about the average learning retention rates. If at all we make the student to participate, listen in our classroom, the average learning retention rate is 5%. If we make them to read, it is a 10%. If we make the student to go through the audio visuals, 20%. Demonstrate something and thereby make a student to learn, then the average learning retention rate for a student is 30%. Make a student to participate in the group discussion, retention rate is high. Make the student to participate by doing the things. Retention rate is okay 75%, and make them to share their experience of doing, participating the group demonstrations, etc. Then the average learning retention rate is high. This is the focus that we need to keep in our teaching learning process. So the objective of a teaching learning process is to make student to think and make them ready for the industry. Here is another aspect, the characteristics of learning we need to keep it in mind, or level of learning we need to keep it in mind while setting the question paper, while doing the assessment, and also while doing the classroom and in class or out of the class teaching or learning process. The level of learning lowest one is remembering. It is just make the student to memorize and reproduce. Understanding, transformation of knowledge, memorize and reproduce in your own way acceptable to others. Apply the knowledge, it is at the wisdom level, wherein you analyze situation, you create the design, you evaluate the solution space. Okay, you keep on doing all these things. Now this percentage of weightage for all these things in a question paper, they may vary depending on the expected quality achievements and also the particular course and the course teacher. One of the possible combination is 10% on this, 10% on at the level 2, 10% is at the level 3 applying right the knowledge. And nature of question to assess the learning also differs at this level. Define, list, compare at remembering level. Explain, describe, interpret, distinguish at understanding level. And the third level applying includes apply, calculate, solve, classify, derive, determine, evaluate, formulate, design, create. These are the different aspects. But the whole focus is make a student to think and write answer in the examination, which alone helps them to prepare for the industry. Now let's look into few questions, examples to understand the two slides, whatever that we have gone through here. Now see here, instead of asking a question, what is refactoring, explain with the example, it is better to ask the question, identify the various quality issues that initiate refactoring for a given design whose requirements are as stated below. Apply refactoring in stages, justify each and create the final course diagram. A system to produce a graduation report. A student takes a course, writes thesis. System checks if the student has completed graduation requirements and prints the results along with grades. Student may be undergraduate or postgraduate. Graduating requirements for the two are different in number of courses and thesis. And for this, the design is given here, and we are expected to do the refactoring for this and get the solution. Please understand here, if I ask question what is refactoring, explain the example, student writes something what is given in the book and get some marks. They may not be in the position, by answering this question, they may not be in the position to apply their knowledge. So make the student to apply the knowledge gained in the classroom to solve the problems. This alone makes the student to be ready for the industry. Here is an example, right? Pick real life scenarios and ask the student to comment on the user interface quality and ask them to redesign this and justifying every solution they provide. So this makes the student to apply their knowledge and facilitate what is called as an abstract thinking. Here is a small example. Right here is a state diagram. Ask the student to build the test case and fill in this. So fill in the blank also is to work something and then fill here. So here also we are making a student to apply their knowledge at the lower levels. Consider another beautiful example. The behavior of a particular complex system is given in the form of the state diagram. Make a student to understand this, and Here is a change that is required. Ask the student to modify the state diagram for the new requirement. The new requirement is something like this, for which they are expected to extend the state diagram. The new requirement is the copy machine does not work quite right. When it jams, the operator must first remove the jammed paper and then turn the machine off and on before it will operate correctly again. If the machine is turned off and then on without removing the jammed offending paper, the machine stays jammed. This change we have to bring it in this particular state diagram. Ask the student to understand the state diagram and bring the changes that is required. This is a beautiful example, okay, and let all our question paper is a collection of such questions which make the student to think and then write. It may be at 1 mark level, or it may be at 2 marks level, or it may be at 5 or 20 marks, whatever that is there, but let the student think and then write. Now let's look into the term graduate attributes used in outcome-based education. They are nothing but the individually accessible outcomes that are the components of individual graduates' potential to acquire competence to practice at appropriate levels. Graduate attributes defined by NBA includes, there are 12 graduate attributes. Now let's look into that. Engineering knowledge. Apply knowledge of mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals and core engineering specialization to the defined and applied engineering procedure, process, systems or methodology. Second one is problem analysis. Identify, formulate, study literature and analyze broadly defined engineering problems. Third one is design solution for broadly defined engineering technology problems. Fourth one, conduct investigation of broadly defined problems. Fifth one, select and apply appropriate techniques, resources, and modern engineering and IT tools. Like this, there are as many as 12 attributes have been defined by NBA for a graduate. We need to ensure that having defined the program outcome, what students are expected to know or do at the time of graduation, which is customized to particular program. These are nothing but program outcomes. We need to map all these things to the graduate attribute and see that, okay, the program is well defined in terms of its objectives and attainment. There are certain international bodies, academic bodies like an IEEE and ACM. They also define the characteristics of, okay, the graduates. Here is an example for computer science graduates. Here they are expected to work at the system level perspective build, develop a high level understanding of system as a whole. A balance between the theory and practice and essential link between them is expected with them. Not studying, okay, only theoretical things and they don't know the how to implement all these things at appropriate levels. Abstraction, complexity and evolutionary changes, they are supposed to know about this. The project experience is the most important thing, which involves a practical application of principles learned in different course and forces the student to integrate material learned at different stages of the curriculum. The most important thing here is a rigorous thinking is the most important thing in terms of planning, tracking progress, measuring and generally managing quality. Adaptability is the most important thing for any engineer. The pace at which the change are taking place, we need to understand that and we need to maintain our skills as the field evolves. Now let's look into how to develop a curriculum. Program curricula. Defining program educational objectives, defining program outcome, defining the course outcome for all the courses, and mapping between course outcome to program outcome to program educational objectives. And ensure that the consistency between PEOs and a mission, Alignment, proper alignment between the POs and graduate attributes, proper balance between the theory and practicals, how the core courses are contributing to POs and POs, any courses specific to meet any of the POs and POs, course content contributing to meet the POs, COs. So we need to keep in mind all these things. Administrative system for implementation of OBE. For the development of a program, we need a course coordinator, program assessment committee, department advisory board, internal quality assurance cell IQAC. Course coordinator, either one of the senior faculty members who teach common courses, otherwise individual faculty will be the course coordinator. Monitor and reviews the activities related to attainment of course outcomes. Module coordinator coordinates and supervise the faculty teaching and particular course in the module group of like courses, responsible for assessment of the course outcomes, recommends and facilitates workshops, faculty development programs, meeting or conferences to meet the course outcomes, analyze the results of a particular course and recommends the program coordinator and or the head of the department to take appropriate action. The liaises with the students, faculty, program coordinators and head of the department to determine the priorities and policies. Program coordinator interacts and maintains liaison with the key stakeholder, students, faculty, department head and employer. Monitors and reviews the activities of each year in program independently with the course coordinators. Schedules a program work plan in accordance with specifications of the program objectives and outcomes. Oversees daily operations and coordinates activities of program with interrelated activities of other programs, departments or staff to ensure optimum efficiency and compliance with appropriate policies, procedures and specification given by HOD. Conduct and interprets various surveys required to assess POs and PEOs. This is the role of the program coordinator. Program Assessment Committee. Program Assessment Committee consists of program coordinator, module coordinator and faculty representatives. Chaired by program coordinator, the committee monitors the attainment of POs and PEOs. Evaluate program effectiveness and progress necessary changes for and proposes necessary changes for continuous improvement. Prepares periodic records on program activities, progress, status, or other special reports for management key stakeholders. Motivates the faculty and students towards attending workshop, developing projects, working models, paper publication and research. Interact with student, faculty program coordinator, module coordinator and outside community agencies in facilitating program educational objectives. PAC meets at least once in 6 months to review the program and submit a report to Department Advisory Board. Department Advisory Board that consists of head of department, program coordinators and representatives of key stakeholders. DAP, chaired by head of the department, receives the report of the program assessment committee and monitors the progress of the program. DBA on current and future issues related to programs. DAP on current and future issues related to programs. Develops and recommends new or revised program educational objectives. DAP meets at least once in a year to review the programs. The most important one, internal quality assurance cell. IQAC consists of various program coordinators, head of the department, head of the institution, faculty and student representatives. Chaired by IQAC coordinator, nominated by head of the institution, the cell monitors the attainment of vision and mission of the institute. Evaluates attainment of the vision and mission of the various departments and proposes necessary changes for continuous improvement. Now look into that. This is another aspect which I would like to share. Mapping of course outcome to program outcome. So consider a particular course, right? See, we have a to K or A to N, whatever that is their program outcome. You can use a color code to indicate the different levels or weightage at which the course outcome contribute to the program outcome. Now here look into that. This particular course, they contribute to A to N in this way: strong contribution, average contribution, some contribution, and no contribution. This is another perspective at which, okay, you can prepare mapping of courses to the POs. This is the program outcome to program educational objectives mapping. But the most important here is how to measure what the student has achieved. Having defined the course outcome, delivered, having mapped the course outcome to program outcome, having mapped the program outcome to program educational objectives, the question is how do we measure what student has achieved? The most important aspect. This we will see it in the next part of same self-assessment report preparation, a generic walkthrough about NBA. To conclude this particular part, we have understood the three levels which are important for outcome-based education. The first one is to define what student should be able to do, then make the student to achieve the outcome through our learning and teaching activities, and finally the assessment is how to measure what the student has achieved. So this is the end of the this particular part. The next part will go through the generic walkthrough and preparation of self-assessment report, vision, mission, POs and graduate attributes, course learning outcomes and its measurement, development of rubrics, self-learning, an important aspect of NBA, and finally we'll try to conclude.